Good for the gander.
Good for the gander.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for St. Barnabas.
Now turn the other cheek. Finish with that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy.
Yeah, man, I used to.
Mr. Deputy, I rise on behalf of the great people of the constituency of St. Barnabas, continuously grateful to them for this opportunity to serve my second consecutive term here in the Parliament. And it never escapes me how much of an honor it is, because there have been thousands throughout the history of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas who have made every attempt to join us here in these hallowed halls. And so to be a re-elected member is indeed a privilege, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I thank Almighty God for allowing me to see another day here in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. As I always contend, it is I believe, the greatest nation on earth, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, it is a privilege to stand to thank Her Excellency Cynthia Pratt, Governor General, for her speech from the throne, and to say that we are indeed proud of her life's work, her contributions to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, her contributions to the community of Coconut Grove and other communities, but particularly Coconut Grove, where she has resided for decades and where I am the Member of Parliament. I said to Your Excellency on a recent visit to Government House that though her official residence may have changed in name, that I'm still a Member of Parliament, and however I can help, that I'm still here to represent her interests. Mr. Deputy, this resolution and this debate on the speech throne is an interesting one, Mr. Deputy. Interesting for a number of reasons, but one in particular, the member from Fox Hill talked about today that the speech from the throne, and paraphrasing here, is about 2026, right? The next election. And I thought that was profound, and the member for Fox Hill, in his experience, knows very well what he was talking about. So despite the various contributions from the members of the government who would want you to believe their version of what is happening in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and what will be happening over the next couple of years until they leave office. The truth is that the Bahamian people consistently have a different view and have had a different view, Mr. Deputy, on their experience under this new day government, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, one of the things I believe that the government did not have in their blueprint for paying that they should have had a line that says, and occasionally over our years of governance, when we don't want to take responsibility, we will continue to blame the Free National Movement and continue to look in the rearview mirror because we want to continue to make excuses and to cherry pick and to be selective with what they feel is happening for the Bahamian people, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, the government cannot have its cake and eat it too. They want to take credit for what they believe are some of the good things happening in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, but they don't want to take responsibility for the things that are not happening well for the Bahamian people. As a matter of fact, the things that are happening under their watch, they consistently say that it is the Free National Movement that created this problem, and the problem that people are facing. But when it comes to what they believe are the benefits relative ministries and across our country, then they get the credit. It just doesn't work that way, Mr. Deputy. It does not work that way. So confused at times in their eagerness to have it both ways, they get confused. On one hand, they enjoy and they promote the benefits of a cruise port that was a project started under the Free National Movement. And they all went to the opening, and some danced the night away.
Shipyard scene.
And then some fell down dancing. That may be so, right? But then on the next hand, Mr. Deputy, in the same government breath, Mr. Deputy, that said and talked about the benefits, short-term and long-term benefits to the Bahamian people of that port, in the same government breath, they say it was a bad deal. Voice ever they say, Mr. Deputy. So at times, this government is even confused about their position as it relates to what they believe the government is doing. And again, they get into finger-pointing, Mr. Deputy.
Why political?
But the truth is, Mr. Deputy, the Bahamian people see a very different Bahamas from what this government continues to promote. And the truth is, Mr. Deputy, at the end of the day, what the Bahamian people are experiencing, it is laid at the feet of this government. The reality of it is, Mr. Deputy, that it's been 2 years, Mr. Deputy, and it's becoming increasingly clear that the New Day agenda has failed the Bahamian people across our Commonwealth, from the poor to the Bahamian worker to the small Bahamian businessman. There's much dissatisfaction and regret. The Bahamian people, as we said, were promised a blueprint for change, but the pain continues, Mr. Deputy. The pain continues for the Bahamian people over these 2 years. Their time in office has been marked by skyrocketing increases in taxes and fees for government services, to an uncontrollable increase in crime, to huge increases in burdensome electricity bills. They are absent on public infrastructure, as Bahamians across our family of islands contend with roads in disrepair, constant lack of water supply, and days without electricity. Their weak, loose, and lackadaisical policy on citizenship and immigration matters have Bahamians demanding change. The government has failed at their very fundamental duties, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, due to recent events surrounding the Department of Immigration, Bahamians no longer feel that the government is safeguarding our patrimony and protecting our birthright adequately. They have failed to implement policies to mitigate the lingering global inflation that would shore up the Bahamian economy and bring much-needed relief to the Bahamian people. As sexual assaults and murders increase, the government has failed to articulate to the Bahamian people a comprehensive anti-crime policy. The government has failed to lead a collective anti-crime movement, inclusive of civic, religious, and law enforcement stakeholders. The poor and the marginalized in our country are more vulnerable than ever before, as the social safety net has been weakened by a government who has withdrawn funding and failed to implement the promised relief programs for the least, the lost, and the left behind. Mr. Deputy, the Bahamian people have been saying for a long, long time, and here at Parliament, this great banter we have about these bread basket items. But no less than the Bishop of the Anglican Church, Church said most recently, take VAT off of bread basket items because it's hurting the poor. It's hurting the poor. Hurting the poor. The government that says that they're for the poor and that they would wipe the tear from every eye has left the poor more vulnerable in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Yes, they are.
Because even when they put taxes on bread basket items, that has disproportionately affected the poor even more. what they didn't do, what they said they would do, Mr. Deputy, they talked about creating social programs. They talked about bringing back the RISE program that would help the poor, and it's nowhere to be found, Mr. Deputy. Nowhere to be found. Mr. Deputy, the Progressive Liberal Party, this government, has talked about them being good stewards of the economy. They came in and said that they inherited a recession. They inherited a crisis, a recession. But the truth is, the economy in 2021 grew by 14% under the Free National Movement, Mr. Deputy. But what is even more interesting, Mr. Deputy, is that now the Bahamian people see that when the government said, we opened the economy, not only were they incorrect, but we realized that they wanted to open the economy to tax it as much as they can. So they were happy to open up the economy because all it's been is taxes after taxes after taxes after taxes.
Shame.
Now you have to pay $750 for an occasional license. There's a $25 fee now to deal with a lot of business services, business license services, Mr. Deputy. Everywhere they turn, and this is after the government. This is after the government said two things: don't elect the F&M, they would raise taxes, and then subsequent to that, they said, if you elect us, we wouldn't raise taxes.
Double lie.
And the first thing they did was raise taxes, put the taxes on bread basket items, Mr. Deputy, and on medication, Mr. Deputy. So the government can continue to fool themselves about where they feel they have made progress or where they feel the Bahamian people might be. But the truth is, as two members of Parliament, former members of Parliament of the Progressive Liberal Party said, and I quote, the Bahamian people are catching hell. Yes. That's two former members of Parliament of the Progressive Liberal Party. One who has always been connected, if I could say, to the plight of the underserved, the plight of the poor in this country. The Bahamian people are catching hell. So, when the government hears that, you know, they probably would say, you know, catching hell. No, they're not the reason why the Bahamian people are catching hell. It's the policies of the former government. When will this government take responsibility and deal with the issues that are facing the Bahamian people and stop making excuses? Mr. Deputy, on BPL, and I heard the honorable member from Elizabeth, who's the new minister who's responsible for BPL, talked about a number of achievements that have happened under BPL. But the one achievement that the honorable member could not talk about is achieving lower electricity bills. And that's the one there that continues to plague the Bahamian people and burden them and burden Bahamian businesses. Because the truth is, the only report that is important is the report that the Bahamian people's light bills, the Bahamian people's light bills have been going up, and it's been because of this government. And it's been because of this government not conducting the hedge, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, ever since this government took over, BPL has not been the same.
Honorable, the chair recognizes the honorable member for Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. Deputy Speaker, I didn't wish to interrupt the honorable member from St. Barnabas, but I want to make it clear. The report that was tabled speaks to the hedge, okay? Hedging is just like a hopeful, a bet, a maybe, a possibility for us to secure certain numbers at a certain time, right? There's a fuel mix that is spoken to in that report that speaks to the fact that we were not in the money. Even if the hedge was done, we would not receive the low cost of electricity you keep referring to. So you cannot take the good and try to ignore the bad. There is a domino effect for the poor mismanagement that occurred under your administration, and you can't lay it on our government. We are now fixing it. We will fix it for the Bahamian people, and you're going to be right here to witness it.
Mr. Deputy,
Thank you, Honorable Member.
I thank the good member, the honorable member, and the minister for that intervention. But the reality, what still exists, as I said, ever since this government came into power, BPL has never been the same, and people's electricity bills, the Bahamian people bills, have been going up, And to the credit,
That's the point.
Mr. Deputy,
That's the point.
when the government decided not to continue the hedge program in the way that we continue it, Mr. Deputy, right? 163% increase. Well, how much it cost the Bahamian people?
Members,
How
Honorable
much?
members.
63? No, 110 million, right? Cost the Bahamian people $110 million. And they're paying for it now. Paying for it now, Mr.
Order,
Deputy.
members.
Paying for it now. Mr. Deputy, let me share with this House. This is a Bahamian who was expressing their deep frustration at the issues of BPL and their electricity bills, right? Right. The last BPL light bill for September, this is from, right? The last BPL light bill for September. Mr. Deputy, please, Mr. Deputy.
Order,
Mr.
honorable
Deputy.
members.
Mr. Deputy, please. Thank you, right? They said the last BPL light bill for September for my apartment
Yes.
which was rented to a teacher, was $31.52.
Yes.
Today I got a bill for October, which is $795.
Honorable Member.
74.
Honorable, are you at?
Incredible.
No one is currently occupying the
member.
unit. Mr. Deputy,
Yeah.
Mr. Deputy, can I?
Are you adopting? Are you
Yes,
adopting?
yes, good.
You're doing good.
No one is currently occupying the unit, and all the breakers were turned off
My Lord.
on August 26th. So why do they think I owe them anything? This is BPL under this government.
Yes.
Under this government, this is the BPL
Says
under
Davis
this government,
increase.
and what the Bahamian people are feeling.
Says Davis
Mr. Deputy, 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 Mr. Deputy,
Order, members.
Mr. Deputy, over the last few months, right, over the last few months, you've heard the cries, Mr. Deputy.
Order, members.
Thank you.
Order, members.
Mr. Deputy, over the last few months, we've heard Bahamians on the islands of Auckland, Eleuthera, Andros, expressing their dissatisfaction with the level or lack thereof of service of BPL across the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Just recently this weekend, Mr. Deputy, I was on the island of Eleuthera to attend the funeral. And Mr. Deputy, the whole island was off for hours. The whole island was off for hours, and it was going out throughout the day 5, 6, 7 times. How can people live?
You feel hurt when FNMs are attacking us, you know. You don't want FNMs to
The chair recognizes the honorable member for South and Central Andros.
I don't want him to get carried away and not able to report what he adopted. I
Mr.
just wanted
Deputy,
to do that
Mr.
now.
Deputy,
Seeing
Mr.
as though he
Deputy.
came off of it, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes.
My contribution, Mr. Deputy. I will lay it at the end, Mr. Deputy. How much time I have?
You can't.
No, sir. No, sir.
Order, members.
No, sir.
Don't listen to me.
No, sir. Thank you. So, Mr. Speaker, Bahamians across the length and breadth of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas have been experiencing BPL at its worst.
Worse.
At its worst.
Yes.
I spoke to a number of small business persons. Though I was there in Eleuthera on a personal sojourn, I could not help but go into certain stores and certain businesses to ask them how things are going. And the first thing they complained about, the first thing they talked about is what's happening with the electricity on those islands, on the island of Eleuthera, Mr. Deputy. So again, the government continues to paint this rosy picture of what is existing in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, but the Bahamian people have a different but real version, a different and real reality.
That's right.
And sometimes the truth is, governments don't realize it until election day, Mr. Deputy, and that's okay. Mr. Deputy, also Mr. Deputy, also Mr. Deputy, also Mr. Deputy, you know, the state of the roads,
In 2026 or sooner.
the state of the roads, right? The state of the roads, Mr. Deputy, in keeping with this discussion about infrastructure, the state of the roads in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is poor, particularly on the island of New Providence. And with all the taxes that the government has put on the people, with all of the taxes the government has put on the people, that's why they're asking, what are they getting for the taxes that they pay?
That's right. That's right.
What are they getting for the taxes that they pay? So you increase all the taxes, but they can't get the electricity to stay on, water supply isn't staying on
Yeah.
in a lot of farm islands, and the roads. Here's a report, Mr. Deputy. Here's a report. 80% of New Providence roads in poor condition. This is from the Ministry of Works. All right? Survey, listen, Mr. Deputy. So based on the things you're hearing from the government, Mr. Deputy, 80% of New Providence roads are in poor condition.
Yes, sir.
Not 20%,
Yes.
not 30%, not 50%, not 60%. 80% of New Providence roads are in poor condition. This is from the ministry that is tasked with fixing roads.
Yes.
80% of the roads. So the point is, what has the government been doing? What is the see, Mr. Deputy? You hear them, Mr. Deputy, right? Right? What have you been doing? They're the government.
Fix it.
They are the government. They are the government. Mr. Deputy. Mr. Government. Mr. Government. Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, please, Mr. Deputy. I can't. Yeah. Thank you.
Order, members.
So 80% of New Providence roads are in poor condition.
Yes.
So you taxing the Bahamian people like crazy, taxing them up to you know what, Mr. Deputy, but they can't drive on smooth roads. Can't drive on smooth roads, Mr. Deputy. This government say it's working. A government that is working isn't going to have 80% of the roads on the island where exists the capital of the nation, and 80% of the roads are in disrepair.
Side.
The Ministry of Works, Mr. Deputy, what has this government been doing?
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Central and South Eleuthera.
You know, the member for St. Barnabas, for some reason, thinks this 80% of road just happened yesterday.
You all been in government for 2 years, not just when you got.
2 years.
So 80% happened in 2 years?
Nothing really reset because you all shuffled.
So I trying to ascertain to the member to be very clear on this 80% of this roads. Where it come from? Where you find that?
That when we came in government, they ain't had no staff.
Yeah. Mr. Deputy,
The chair recognizes the honorable member
you know
for
what's
St.
amazing
Barnabas.
about the government, Mr. Deputy? You know what's amazing about this government, Mr. Deputy? When this government came into office, you heard about airports. They say they build in a couple of months. Talked about airports, they build in a couple of months, but they can't fix roads in 2 years. And on top of that, what the Bahamian people realize too, see, you can't swing the Bahamian people, you know. They are shrewd and smart. We don't give our people enough credit. You spend 120 million in the last 2 years on consultants. 120 million. Not 1 million, not 1.2 million, not 20 million, 120 million on consultants. But 80% of the roads are not paved adequately
My Lord.
on the island of New Providence. All right?
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Central and
That's
South.
another point, right? The member for St. Barnabas ain't mentioned nothing for the family islands. Because when the member for Fort Charlotte sat in the chair, you had road work in Andros, road work in Cat Island, road work in Eleuthera's about to start, road work in West Grand Bahama, road, huh?
You mean 78 million in Ireland? That's the one you're talking about? That you all had to go and hold that special.
So you continue, so the member now saying about how much money it costs. So the member for Marco City now don't think that Bahamian people is worth spending the money to get the roads fixed.
Don't
No.
put words in my mouth.
No.
I
He's
asked
saying-
you about the 17 million in
Hold on,
Andrews.
members,
So the member is concerned about how much money.
17
Listen.
million single source contract.
All what matters, listen, now he's saying the money ain't good enough. We're going to fix the roads in the Family Islands, and we're going to fix the roads in New Providence. Just sit and watch. Just sit and watch. And St. Barnabas, when you drive on the road, I want you to come back into this place, the same place, and say thank you to the Progressive Liberal Party and the New Day government for fixing the roads. You can do that? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Mr. Deputy, I hear the good member for Central and South Eleuthera, the new Minister of Works, but it ain't about me, it's about the Bahamian people. So anything that gets done and fixed for the Bahamian people, I happy for the Bahamian people. You know, I ain't worried with me. So, you know, the minute that happens, I happy for the Bahamian people, right?
Are you tabling the report? Don't interrupt us.
I'm going to table.
The only benefit of bad roads is you had a lumps in the road, and so one particular minister couldn't drive as fast as possible to hit the police. That's the only benefit of having a road that is even.
But Mr. Deputy, but the members opposite continue to make my point.
God was in your favor.
So let's talk about the F&M legacy.
in your favor.
They want to talk about the F&M legacy when they see fit. But their legacy started 2 years ago. So what this is your legacy right now. This is your legacy. Taxes, no water, unbelievably high electricity bills, right? The poor that's in a worse state because the social safety net is not as strong as it used to be because there are things that you've taken away. You put VAT on bread basket items. That is your legacy.
Yes, it is.
That is your legacy. And more. Yes, sir. Running on. Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Deputy.
He's such a good member of our team, man.
Mr. Deputy. Also, Mr. Deputy, on the national security issue, Mr. Deputy, see, Mr. Deputy, this parliamentary reset, the proroguing of the House. I heard the member from Fox Hill earlier today that talked about this is something that they wanted to do. But it's so coincidental that it just came when the Bahamian people really started to have this serious national discussion,
Pressure's on them.
all right, about all these issues, and that this isn't a government who is working for us.
That's right.
But the truth is, no matter what parliamentary reset this government attempted, the reality of it is the Bahamian people are still left with holes in roads,
Yes.
still left with high electricity bills,
Yes.
still left with not being able to bathe their skin and flush their toilets in Family Islands. Still.
Yes.
So even though we had a break, the Bahamian people, as a matter of fact, light bills were going up while Parliament was on a break. Things were still going up.
Yep, while they were traveling.
So you ask yourself, Mr. Deputy, right? The Bahamian people ask us, are you better off than you were 2 years ago? Right? Okay? Are you spending more money? Are you spending more money? Are the Bahamian people spending more money on food? Yes. Under this government. Are they spending more money on electricity bills because of the government? Yes, Mr. Deputy. Are they spending more money on gas bills? Yes, Mr. Deputy. Right?
They're spending more money.
Are the roads? Huh? Right, Mr. Deputy? Okay? Are you spending more on your insurance premiums? Yes. Is your medication, are you spending more money on your medication? Yes. This is your legacy. This is your legacy. And we keep hearing that, God, just wait, y'all can see, y'all can see. The Bahamian people have been waiting to see for the last 2 years.
And you can't see in the night, there's a light off. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Mr. Deputy, are the uniform branches happy with this government?
No.
The uniform branches, a few months ago, as we prepared for the budget, specifically the Staff Association for members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force and the Staff Association for BDOCS, the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, talked about how they felt disrespected that this government has taken away, as of July 1st, took away insurance benefits from their family members, right? The organization.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
You know, the rules require you not to mislead the House and thereby the Bahamian people. If, in fact, the member for St. Barnabas read the circular, it doesn't relate to anybody who is in service, so it couldn't possibly take anything away from anyone, including everyone who is in recruitment. If he is saying that he read that, and he is moved by someone who read that and came to a different conclusion, he can say that. But to say that anything is taken away from anyone is an untruth. It doesn't relate to reality. All of the things that if I were outside, I would say was a lie. But I can't say that in this place.
Thank you, honorable member.
You didn't educate me. You didn't educate me. That's one thing you can do.
You know, I'm not a KC.
Humility, please.
I'm not a KC.
Some humility. Come on, man. That's some humility.
The organizations,
Accommodate you.
members of the organization have expressed their dissatisfaction, Mr. Deputy.
Yes.
The fact that their organizations, as of July 1st, will no longer have the benefits.
That's the thing he said.
They will no longer have the benefits. That is so. July 1st.
All teacher officers.
July 1st,
The
Mr.
chair
Speaker.
recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
Again, St. Barnabas seems to be wishing to politicize these organizations.
No.
They are not trade unions. They do not negotiate collective bargaining agreements. I know the other side didn't sign many, even with the bargaining units who were trade unions. But the Police Staff Association by law is not a trade union. BDOC by law doesn't create a trade union. I would caution him to be careful, because if what he says is true, they're in contravention of the law and there are certain consequences, which they denied in meetings with me. They denied the characterizations that St. Barnabas was seeking to put on them that would put them in contravention of the law.
Thank you, honorable member.
Mr. Deputy, a few months ago, I would have read in this Parliament the letters from both the Staff Association of the Royal Bahamas Police Force
Correct.
and BDOCs.
Correct.
And they were very consistent with their views on it, Mr. Deputy. They were tabled. Very consistent, Mr. Deputy, that this government has taken away from their organizations a benefit that has been of great help and service to their family, because when members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force and other uniformed services serve, their families serve with them.
Yes.
And they are so honorable men and women that the fact that their insurance was secured and that this would only affect people coming in, they made a point about the organization, that this would be deteriorating for our organization. So they didn't say, well, I straight, and my new colleagues coming in with, you know?
Yes.
So, Mr. Deputy,
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Freetown.
This document. It is important that he tables it because of representation that comes to me from these organizations.
He said he's going to table.
If he could table it, that would be useful. This is 4 things now he has to table today. No,
Thank
I
you,
don't.
honorable member.
No, I have a copy of a letter written to my PS that was responded to, which is why I'm asking for that to be tabled.
Thank you, honorable member.
Mr. Deputy, that's what, 7 minutes? I know Kalani. Oh, that was a privilege, Jay. Oh, sorry about that. That's for former prime ministers. That's no problem. Yeah, no problem. I have no problem with that. But Mr. Deputy, but what is so hurtful for the Bahamian people, Mr. Deputy, right, is that this government in many ways has refused to listen to them. When we we started the budget debate for this cycle that we are in, you remember all of those new taxes for cruise ships and departure tax and so forth? And the Bahamian people were saying, more taxes again? And of course, the government say, man, these are taxes for cruise ships, all right? They could afford it. But we were talking about the new departure tax increase on Bahamians, okay? What happened after that? The cruise ship or our cruise line made a noise, some noise to the government.
They moonwalk.
Moonwalk is correct. And now it's January, right? So they're willing to move heaven and earth, like Mama say, for foreign interests. But they wouldn't move it for the Bahamian people and the people who have elected them. For the people who have elected them. So the cruise ships made noise, and they said we can move them taxes down the road. So they were moved not by the Bahamian people, but by foreign interests, Mr. Deputy. So, Mr. Deputy, so they can talk all they want. The proof is in the pudding, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I talked about some of the issues in the family islands. I have 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
5 more minutes? Okay, good. As I wrap up, I'd like to, two other things very important. Mr. Deputy, this issue of beach access in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and easements, we have a problem. I'm not putting on this on any particular government. 2 minutes, Mr. Deputy, as we wrap up, please.
You can wrap up because
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
you have a,
This-
1 minute, honorable member.
This issue of Bahamians having access to our beaches is a problem.
For each of the last
All
2
right?
points.
They're having issues on the side of Bahama where they're blocking off entrances across not only New Providence but out throughout the family islands. And we must do something about it.
Yes.
So this is the one thing I'm not putting at the government's feet. Even though you are the government, you must do something about it. So we need to fix it. We need to fix it, Mr. Deputy, right? Okay? Also, Mr. Deputy, this issue, Mr. Deputy, and this is for the member for Elizabeth, and I would have spoken about this before. The Road Traffic Department, I think at Fort Charlotte and Carmichael, is still not accepting legal tender in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Everything is cashless. That's a problem. Mr. Deputy, I am talking about something that is a problem. We need to fix it.
Honorable member, we have to wrap up now in the interest of time.
Ah, boy, Mr. Deputy.
So impatient, so impatient.
So impatient, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy. Well, then fix it then. Fix it. It ain't nothing to fix. Okay, no problem. Ain't nothing to fix. Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, Mr. Deputy, it's about convenience for the Bahamian people. Okay, so Bahamian people, they are saying, don't worry about it. Right? Yeah, but that ain't the point. They're saying don't worry about it. You know, whatever is an inconvenience, you're paying your taxes. So what they're saying is enjoy the holes in the road. Enjoy the fact that you cannot pay cash down there in the apartment, Mr. Deputy. Mr. Deputy, I thank the governor for the speech from the throne. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah.